Good afternoon. My name's Jan.
My name's Sabrina.
Okay, nice to meet you. How are you?
Very well, thank
Yeah, long wait.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you're here now. First of all, could I ask for your identification document?
Yes. Here you are.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. That's fine. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with your presentation, during which I might make some notes, but don't worry, they're just so that I can ask you questions in the discussion phase. We'll follow that with the discussion and the interactive task, we'll move to the listening, and we'll finish with conversation. Could I just ask you which list you prepared for the conversation? Was it list
B, I think.
Okay. With these ones?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. So the clock is there to help you. Do you have any notes for me to look at?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Plan for the presentation.
Okay. Well, you may start when you're ready.
Okay. My topic is the Carnival of Venice. I'm particularly very interested in this carnival, and yesterday I came back from Venice. And I really wanted to visit this city. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to do it in February when the carnival takes place. But as I told you, I'm really interested in this, so I read a few things about this carnival that now I'm going to share with you. So the Carnival of Venice, this is an annual carnival that takes place the week before the Great Lent, and it lasts for a whole week. During this week, maybe you know that there are lots of shows and different festivities and celebrations, people dressing up in glamorous costumes, wearing masks. It's really quite splendid. The festival itself dates back from long ago. The first records are from the late 13th century. And for many years this was really great festival in Venice, like the one in Rome. At the time there was a festival in Rome. So hundreds of tourists were visiting Venice during this carnival. And there were also some of these tourists, the one that came from Northern Europe. They were called grand tourists because they were young and aristocratic men who visit Venice. And they wrote some records on this festival. From these records we can see how exactly the carnival went on and what happened. There were, at times, this festival was really violent. There were, for example, oxen and pigs running down the streets, people were fighting. So these festivities at times were really violent, but still all the people, they enjoyed themselves wearing these fascinating costumes and masks. Also these tourists that came to Venice at this time, they made some great economical contribution to Venice. Because every year Venice was visited by hundreds of tourists. So the state at this time, the authorities, they couldn't afford to ban this carnival. They wanted to, but they couldn't afford this because of the economic losses that they would have. However, somewhere in the 18th century and during the Austrian occupation, the carnival was banned. And there were no such celebrations, but later on in the I think in the 20th century it was reincarnated, this festival, and nowadays lots of people, even millions of people, go there in February. And there is an interesting tradition the last day, the so-called Flight of the Turk, when there is, nowadays it's no longer the Flight of the Turk, it is the Flight of the Dove, but in earlier years it was a Turkish acrobat who for the first time performed this thing, but it was very dangerous and they replaced it with a dove. So the performance itself is a wooden dove is put on a rope, and from the square it goes up to the bell tower, and then it goes down, and while descending, there are flowers and confetti inside it, so they fall on the audience, and it's really beautiful. So basically, this is the Carnival of Venice, which is quite interesting. And do you have any questions on?
Okay, well, thank you for talking to me about that. Right, you said that it started in the late 13th century, but you didn't say what were the beginnings of it?
Yes, so at the beginning, this carnival was to celebrate the unity of the state, and aristocratic people, they joined together on the square, San Marco Square, and they had their own kind of festivities there, as I told you, mainly celebrating the glory and the glory of the state. Yes.
So it sounds to me, from what you're saying, that it's always been quite an elitist carnival.
Well, no. This is only the one side of it. On the other hand, we have in the other part of the town, we have ordinary people, poorer people, who also use these days before the Great Lent to celebrate. And as I said, their amusements were at times really violent.
So they were segregated from the aristocrats?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And you said that it was going to be banned at one point, and then they decided not to for financial reasons.
Yes. So they wanted to ban it because although aristocracy and poor people, they were segregated, the most important thing of this festival was wearing costumes and masks, so that your identity is not that clear at this time. And so people kind of mixed together, and the authorities, they really wanted to ban these festivals because they didn't like some of the activities that they were performed. For example, from the records of these grand tourists, we can see that apart from the thousands of tourists that came to Venice at this time, there were also lots of prostitutes who went there. So there were lots of gambling and frequenting these prostitutes, so it wasn't really all that splendor and glamour. And the authorities didn't like these practices. But as I told you, they were interested in the economic contributions.
Right, so decadence pays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And so I would like to ask you, have you ever been to Venice, to the carnival?
Never to the carnival, but to Venice, yes.
Okay. Would you like to visit this carnival?
I think that for me nowadays to be too crowded.
Yes, really. Nowadays there, as far as I read, there are millions of tourists who go there. So it's
and from what I've heard, it's a bit of a rip-off. The prices.
Yes, it's not. Okay, and have you ever been to any other carnivals around the world?
I used to live in the middle of Notting Hill Carnival in London. Yeah.
And what was celebrated there?
That's a Caribbean celebration. The immigrants. Yeah, it's great fun.
Okay, do you like it?
I did, but again, I don't think I'd want to go there unless I lived there in the middle.
Yes, okay. What did you like about this carnival?
The atmosphere, definitely the friendly atmosphere, people coming together and celebrating. Just to go back to what you said, we talked about that it eventually was banned. Yeah. So how did they manage that when it was bringing in so much money? What were the reasons that they managed to ban it?
Well, somewhere in the 18th century there was this Austrian occupation. So I think that the Austrian authorities, they finally imposed.
They didn't like parties.
Could be, and still local people tried to revive this carnival, but their attempts were only, they only could celebrate, for example, children's birthday parties. So the carnival was really this, celebrating children's birthdays, and you know, at these birthdays you can wear masks and costumes, but nothing more than this.
Okay, well, thank you for that.